You could tell us about your school and, of course, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today. Thank you, Ms. Wagner. Mr. Sandberg?
Other than the need to change after 17 years, could you give us some insight? Let me backtrack.
Sure.
Clearly, there are a number of questions that surround this issue. Clearly, this board was not involved in any input on this issue. Clearly, from the communications that have occurred over the last few days, there are many questions. My view is that we need to backtrack and be more clear and more specific. I would like to know more about this company that you're recommending. I trust you implicitly, but I don't want to be asked to vote on anything without being given the background. I don't think it's fair. So with all due respect,
Wait a minute.
I would like to amend the motion and say that this item to be returned for future action. Thank you. And I would welcome
I'd like to respond, Mr. Sandbar.
I would like to second the motion, please, if there is a second. If there is no second, then you
there a
just
second?
go ahead.
Well,
He has a motion on the floor first, so we need to address his motion first.
Okay, let's,
Are you going to second his
Yes,
motion?
yes.
Anyone seconding it?
I'll second it. I just want to continue the
All right,
conversation.
yeah, well, there'll be
about it.
conversation. So there's a second to the motion? Okay, so you have a second to the motion that you asked to table this to one more meeting? Okay, now the questions or comments regarding Chakib's amendment?
I'd like to hear what Dr. Escalante has to say.
This item was pulled off the agenda already once because there was fear that there wasn't enough information, enough research done on this project. Okay, probably 2 weeks ago, Scott, 3 weeks ago?
Yes.
I personally went out and spoke to every single one of the principals that has done business with our security companies because I was concerned about the issue. How many times, Scott, has this been in the weekly board letter?
At least two.
At least 2 occasions, with all of the details, facts, and figures on 2 different occasions. So if there's a question about whether the information was provided, it was provided.
Dr. Escalante, with all due respect, you are recommending a company that I don't know anything about. That's all I'm talking about. You did not hear me.
And how often do we do that?
You did it now.
Half of the companies that are in this...
You did it now.
In this board agenda.
I'm asking, what do we know about this company? Is it unfair of me to ask?
All right,
I don't think it is.
Let's get to the amendment and the question on the floor here. The question on the floor here presently is...
I don't think it is.
He's saying, the question that's being asked is basically, there was a board, it was in the board report, board letter twice. Which board letters do we know? Was it during, in August, when we pulled it? Do you remember when it was?
Before the initial process of the bidding process on
I recall
June
reading the
20th.
initial, that the bidding process was going to begin, right? That was in the board, that was the first one I read.
Yeah.
The second one was detailing, there was some questions or comments from some of the school sites, correct?
Right, interviewing, talking about the interview process and the questionnaire
But there was nothing in there
process.
defining SB and the background about SB and the background history of SB?
Not defining the history of SB, no.
And what school districts that SB's been working for and what the results were for? Is there anything,
I said that
has there been any
information
background
is-
information there?
That information is not there.
Thank you very much.
That information wasn't there? What information was provided in the board letter reports then that we weren't, or some of us were privy of or some of us weren't?
Yes, about the process, how the process was handled, how the companies went through the process, how the schools participated in the process, why the schools felt that this was the best company for the job. For example, In the interview process, one of the people that was brought by SB is an LAUSD retired policeman who will be the supervisor for these routes. And that was one thing that was very, very important to the school sites themselves. How they talked about the service that would be provided, also very important to the school sites. Those type of things are what was put into the WIBL items and also in the report. Yeah.
Those basic items there
Yeah.
you're reviewing with us there. Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Wagner, you had a question or comment?
I guess I assumed that, or is it correct to assume that as part of the process that you've gone through, this long process, that you have looked into the background of the company and talked with districts
Yes.
or found out about how they've worked and know that what their track record is?
We have gone through reference checks, and it is the largest of the companies that were interviewed in the process. The 4 that made it to the final interview, it's the largest. It has the largest base of security guards.
Ms. Nahabedi, you had a question or comment? You wait. Mr. Sandberg, any more questions or comments?
Mr. Krikorian.
Ms. Boger, you have a question or comment?
I have a comment. I wish to advise Mr. Sandbar, with all due respect, that I will not vote in favor of his motion. I do rely on the staff to take care of this kind of business for me and believe that it is my job only to make certain that when there are questions expressed by other board members, those questions are satisfactorily answered. I saw the answers that were given to the questions that we received by fax today. I recall the earlier information from the board letters and feel that staff has done their due diligence. And considering the complaints that we've all been subjected to in the past and the particular group in the city that made a major issue of our security service, I'm happy to see that we're going to move on to one that appears to more readily answer our needs. I regret that you feel, Mr. Sandbar, that you did not have enough information before you came to the meeting this evening. I hope that listening to Dr. Price speak now and listening to Dr. Escalante has put your concerns to rest, and that you will also now feel that it is appropriate for us to approve this new firm.
Thank you very much for the lecture, Ms. Boger. I admire you for your perspicacity. This board has never approved a personnel in this district without knowing their background and senior staff. This operation is very critical. I am well aware of the issues we have had with the present company. All I'm asking is, why couldn't we get the background, the experience, and all of the good stuff that the staff has before coming in to ask us for a consent item? It's very simple what I'm asking. I'm not being critical of anyone here.
I agree.
I think
agree.
this board should be given that information as a courtesy, if nothing else.
Point well taken, Shakib. I think I want to get to one comment I have, and I didn't get a chance to ask. The sizes contract is an important question to all of us, because it's a serious thing. We're talking about our tax funds and our dollars that we look at it a full spectrum, because every colleague and board member has a right to voice and to hear what's going on. What is the estimated or budget item on this item for the calendar year?
It's over $400,000.
So it's a very sizable, it's close
Yes.
to $500,000.
Yes.
So an item like this is a serious amount. We're not talking about just approving.
Yes.
It's an amount that, but it's a service that we do need. And the question I have then for you is, we have something temporarily in place right now while this is going on?
Yes, we do. We have 2 contracts that we're using as bridging contracts until the decision of the bidding process has been approved.
So we have a temporary
Correct.
structure in place for the present time. And I have 2 more questions, but I'll go to Ms. Nahabedian.
I was going to say that as long as I've been in this community and have known the school district and spoken to parents and teachers, there have been many complaints and problems with the security guards. You know, I spoke to that when I was running for this office, and I have mentioned that since I've been here. And so I'm not pleased with the services that have been provided, even though there have been some individual security officers who have done very good work. I've said this in the past, and I will say it again. At some point, I would like to have a detailed public presentation on what kind of specific training these security officers have gotten, what is their specific role and responsibilities, and that's and again, that's different than what we are voting on right now, but it is on security guards, and I want to be able to put that out there so that at some future time we can have an opportunity to hear that, because parents have concerns, some teachers have concerns, and this is a great opportunity in a public forum to give them information about that.
Thank you. There are multiple things that we did in this contract to help tighten the contract and give the district more flexibility in working with the contractor. One of them is we specifically asked for a uniform that was clean, tidy, recognizable. The police asked us that it did not look like their uniform, so we set that into effect. We asked for better service and supervision. We asked for the 10-day termination so that we can keep the contractor on their toes. We put in a new code of conduct.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Courtney, and thank you, Ms. Bishop. At this time, we'll consent item number 1 to action item 1A, which is the discussion of the minutes, and consent item number 10 as an action item, number 1B, which was the security contract with SB. Was it 2 items to be pulled out?
Move approval of the agenda with the corrections as noted.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Yeah. 10 goes to 1B. It'll be 1B an action item. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Okay, and general order is approved. And actually, I forgot to do certification of compliance to accommodate.
Instrument that deals with the services, our security